All right, it shows we are live, so let's give it a minute here for some people to join us. Okay. All right, we are a little after 10, so we can go ahead and get started. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us in today's City Updates live broadcast. I'm your host with the Westminster Chamber of Commerce, Jamie Chavez, and we are thrilled to be back. Every Monday, we will bring you the City Update broadcast featuring discussions with our councilors, our mayor, and our mayor pro tem to bring you their perspective and updates on ongoing projects, giving you an insider view of what's happening at City Hall. Joining me also today is Dave Carpenter, who serves as the vice chairman for the Westy Chamber Board and also leads the Government Affairs Committee. So thank you for being here, Dave. You'll always add so much to these discussions. And since this is my first one, glad to have you along. For anyone new to the broadcast, thank you also for being here. We appreciate your presence. I encourage you to like and follow this page. Excuse me. That way you receive notifications for when we go live in the future. And if you're on YouTube, then you can hit subscribe. And you can also check out and explore our previous broadcasts there. So while Mondays are the broadcasts for city updates, Wednesdays offer a chance to meet some of our newest members with the chamber and learn more about their businesses. So this Wednesday at 11 a.m., I'll be live with Denise King from Majestic Promotional and Branded Material. So don't miss the opportunity to discover more about Majestic and what they offer. And we also reserve the last Friday of the month for county updates featuring Jeffco County Commissioner Tracy Kraft-Tharp. So stay tuned to be informed about broader county matters as well. As you watch the broadcast this morning, feel free to engage with us, drop your comments, ask questions, or simply say hello in the comment section, and we'll address them during the interview. And now, without further ado, let's extend a warm welcome to Councilor Dave DeMott. Thank you for joining us today, and let's dive into the discussion.
Thanks, Jamie. I appreciate the opportunity to join you guys. So, since the last time that I was on the chamber updates, obviously a lot has changed. So you've joined. Welcome to the community. I know that you've actually been working with the chamber for a while, but we are excited to hear of you being selected and that they're moving forward as an organization. And we wish Juliet well, obviously, in her new endeavor. But with that being said, but besides that, there's been a lot that's changed in the city government too. So we had an election since the last time I was on, and I don't know if you guys have had an update since the election, but we have 3 new councilors who were seated last week. So Christine Ireland, Claire, I'm going to butcher her name for a while, I'm pretty sure. So Claire and Amber Hott are the ones that have won spots and been chosen by the residents to represent them for the next 4 years. So, with that comes a lot of onboarding that they're going to have to do, kind of drinking from the fire hose for a while to try to, just get the lay of the land, get their legs under them and understand how the city organization works. And then last week, we also selected a new mayor pro tem, Sarah Numerala. So congratulations to her and that new position that she is holding and serving for the community and the council. So exciting stuff. A lot going on. Some of the other stuff that council will do kind of moving forward besides onboarding is we were starting to plan for a strategic planning session. Part of that is also team building. We do that every single, year that we do strategic planning. This year will be important to make sure that we do that with 3 new members so that we all get to know each other, understand, they do a lot of really great things with the groups that we pick to do our team building. Just to kind of understand how each of us learn, how each of us share, how each of us kind of deliberate and come up with our idea of different topics. So that's going to be good and important for us to go through. And then we'll go through strategic planning, which is one of the most important things that council does. And that's just basically, given what's most important to, we think, to the community, for the council to kind of give that down to the staff, and then they come up with some different things that they think will meet those priorities that we put before them. So a lot of stuff that's going to be coming up in the next couple months. Tonight we have a study session, and we're going over a handful of different concept plans. And so this is pretty new still for the city. I know Dave serves also for the Planning Commission, so I haven't got any perspective from Planning Commission members about how they think this new process is. But essentially, prior to this new process, council really wouldn't see much of something that was put before them as far as development until it went through Planning Commission and came to us. So this gives the opportunity for developers to put a concept before us before there's even an application put in. And so this allows them the opportunity to hear from the electeds who represent the community to basically run through a project and say, here's my concerns about it, be it parking, density, water, the various different things that we talk about, and be able to give feedback. They always state that it's gratuitous in nature, meaning it's not binding at all. They could hear what we have to say, and it could come back, and it still could meet qualifications or not meet qualifications. It's it's just really a touch point to understand our perspective as representatives of the community, chosen by residents to represent them. So I think it's been a good process, and it gives us the ability to kind of really give some of that feedback in the front end versus once it comes to council. So I would be curious though, Dave, I don't know your guys as part of that process and how you think it goes, but being on the Planning Commission side of it would be interesting if you give a quick what you think about that process.
Sure, Dave. From my perspective, number one, we haven't seen any of these projects come forward, so we can't tell how well they've addressed any of the comments who came through. However, in my day-to-day life as in the development industry, these concept plans, I believe, do create a good service because developers and pay their sub-consultants thousands, if not tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars getting plans together. So if they go 50 miles an hour down a wrong way street, then council comes in and says, no, this is entirely off track from what we're looking for. They're going to be spending another $90,000 to change the plans or try to get something back. So having something to kind of head things off at the pass, I think having that sort of pre-application meeting, especially with city council, which is the ultimate governing authority, I think is important. And the other thing is when we do start seeing these projects come forward, they're going to be including the notes from these concept reviews. So we'll be able to vet whether or not the developer has taken into account the city council's comments. So, they may, and frankly, council may have some comments that the developer is just going to say, we're not doing that. And they may have an explanation for why they can't do something the way the council says. And then we can evaluate that from a hardship perspective or some other perspective. Because at the end of the day, as long as it meets our city code, that's the important thing. But I think anything to, if we want to be a city that's friendly to business, I believe that this is a good step forward in reducing the cost of doing business in Westminster.
Yeah, I appreciate that perspective. And for people who don't know kind of how the process works, is when a development comes forward and they go through an application period, they do a lot of work with the staff, and then it's presented to the Planning Commission, which Dave sits on. And the Planning Commission is residents chosen who have applied to be on boards and commissions. and they were chosen by council to serve in that capacity. And they kind of go through the process once and look at it and how it meets up with our code, and then they, either pass it or don't pass it. And then whether they pass it or not, it still comes before city council, and we make the ultimate judge. But it's, just another opportunity for people in the community to be able to see it. And I think that's one other thing that I would mention that has been helpful is sometimes these developments, there's a lot of misperception or just not knowledge about what might be coming forward prior to going to planning commission. This actually gives the community an idea even before it gets to an application period. And I have had residents reach out and had questions that I've been able to address to the developer before they even done the application because of this new process. So our mayor McNally, she really pushed for this when she came back to council. The city and county of Broomfield does something similar, and so we've kind of tried to figure out what, look at what they're doing and kind of figure out what fits best for us. And so we, it could still be tweaked along the way, but I think that there's value in it. So there's 4 of those tonight. I take that back, 3, and then a presentation about Unified Development Code, and then one about the Parks Recreation Library vision plan that they're embarking on. So they're in the early phases of doing a whole new vision plan for Parks, Recreation, and Libraries group. So an open space. So should be a full evening tonight for us to sit through. I guess the only other update that I really have is, and I don't know, Jamie, if you're familiar, but I, as a council person, even before I was elected, I had started doing a town hall event that I used to call Policy and or Pilsner and Politics, or Politics and Pilsner, and now it's Pilsner and Policy. And because now that I actually was elected, that made more sense. And one of our former council members, Alberto Garcia, made that suggestion to change that name, and I thought it made a lot of sense. But at any rate, we've been doing those for about 6 years now. And it was this last year we were doing the second Tuesday or third Tuesday of the month. And we are changing that, and we won't have one in December, but starting January, it will be the third Thursday. I have had some different personal job changes over the last year, and so that day fits better with the different obligations that I have, be it work or council. So that will be that portion. And I don't know if I mentioned with the new council, the other big thing that is going to kind of be in flux in the next couple months is we all serve as liaisons to our different boards and commissions and some different outside groups. Like, for example, I've been on the board of the Butterfly Pavilion for the last 6 years through an IGA that we have with the Butterfly Pavilion. So all those will be looked at and figure out like what the current council members want to stay on, what the new council members might be interested in. And they kind of go through a, seat by seniority. Everybody gets to pick one, and we kind of go through the list until they're all divvied out. There are some liaison positions that make sense to just stay with the mayor, and the mayor pro tem typically will be the backup for him because like Metro's mayor's caucus, it wouldn't make sense for anybody but the mayor to be on that one. So that is something else that we'll be going through that process over the next couple of weeks. So I don't know with that, Jamie, if you have questions about, I threw a lot out there, and see what you might be curious about, or if there are other things that I didn't address that you'd like me to address with your audience.
Yeah, thank you. I think Dave has a few questions for you. I'm going to turn it over to him.
Sure. So I guess number one, Dave, it sounds like you said your employment situation is changing. Do you want to discuss your new job at all, or?
Sure. So I don't mind at all. And actually today is going to be my first day, but it's kind of a late start today. I have a couple of different things in the works. So for the last 12 months, I had been running my own consulting firm, which I've actually had kind of on the side for a long time. And so I'm an IT guy by day, and so I've been in the IT field for almost 25 years now, and in the last 8 years or so as an executive. But kind of doing some consulting while I wasn't really looking for something else. And I general manage my family's restaurant called Pietro's Pizza. And so I actually had somebody reach out to me, and I am going to be the new director of IT for a company called Crazy Shirts. They're originally based out of Hawaii. They've been around next year for 60 years, which I think is fun because my family's restaurant's been around for 60 years come next month as well. So I'll continue to do those things and be on council. My consulting will take kind of a back seat, and we'll decide what we do with that company. It'll kind of stick around, but we may actually, kind of manage it from a distance. But so some new exciting things for me, and this is actually the first place that I've publicly shared that I took that role with the Crazy Shirt Company.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And getting back, sounds, at least from watching last week's meeting and everything, with the leaving of several of our councilors and the new ones elected, and then the mayor pro tem elections, I noticed that our new mayor pro tem was elected unanimously. Do you think that's a sign of things to come with this council? There's going to be more collaboration, or how do you see this council working together?
I certainly hope that would be the view. I mean, ultimately I served as the mayor pro tem for the last handful of years, and it takes 4 votes for somebody to get that position. And so, you could have, like you've seen in the past, seen a split vote, but I think there comes a time when people decide that they need to work together. And I'm hoping that 7-0 vote is a statement that, 7 of us all want to actually work together. So that's certainly, how I approached my vote. I certainly, with the new mayor pro tem, have offered any assistance I could give her in my experience. At this point, besides, Mayor McNally had been on council before and has served the city for a good long time. But as far as like concurrently, I've been on this, current stretch the longest of anybody on council. I've been there for the last 6 years straight, and Mayor McNally had a break of 2 terms. So, I hopefully, if there's anything, and I've put this out to the new council members, all 3 of them as well, if there's anything I could do for them to be more successful in ways that I could help them, I certainly am wanting to do that, because my view is we all succeed or fail together. That doesn't mean that we're always going to agree, obviously. We got to pick and choose our battles, but we certainly should want everybody to be capable and ready to address the situations and the different issues that come before us.
Thank you. Another question I have, I noticed that the police department just received a grant for, I think, $80,000 for additional overtime patrol cars and I believe some speed measuring lasers as well, supposedly to fight this the scourge of the street racers, basically. And so we're in more positions. At the same time, I'm also seeing speed limits being lowered over the city. So I have a fear that this is going to be used not to catch the people who are driving 50 miles over the speed limit, but people driving the previous speed limit, and it becomes a revenue stream for the city. Can you address that?
It was brought up to me about lowering some of the speed limits. I have not been able to check into that, but it's on my list of things to bring up tonight, because I'm not sure in those instances why that might have happened. Obviously, there are plenty of things that happen in the city that happen without our knowledge. In an organization as big as ours, that's par for the course. We don't do all things or get down to that level. I will say, and I did hear about the grant. I'm not 100% sure what all we're going to use it for. Honestly, I originally heard about it because I saw the newscast where they were talking to one of our PIOs about us getting that grant, which, budget being what it is, it's always nice to be able to get some of those federal dollars so that we can, best spend our tax revenue. But, and I certainly want to make sure that we are, addressing issues and not looking for issues, as you're saying. And I think that we do a good job of that in my mind, but certainly worth me asking about. I will tell you that street racing has been something that at least up until this election, that council, I can't think of much disagreement that it was something we wanted to address. There were different ideas about how it should be addressed, but council did do some different things. Like there is a ability if you're racing a car for us to basically take that vehicle. There's a lot of stopgaps in that, and that was kind of an interesting topic. But and I'll tell you that the problem that it solves with these street racers, sometimes they'll run from the police, and if they're driving so fast that it isn't safe for us to chase them, you get into the concept of when they find the car, you might not know who was driving the car, and so who do you hold responsible? So the tool that we worked with our police department and courts and attorney's office is basically the ability to say, we know it was that car, so now we're going to take that car while we go through the process to figure out who was driving it and basically hold somebody accountable. And the idea is if you're able to do that, say if it was your teenager driving the car, they're not going to be allowed to drive that car anymore, and we'll give your property back. So it's it's unfortunate that it's come to that, but it has. And we certainly in the city of Westminster, unfortunately, have suffered loss of life from people street racing. There was an incident on Sheridan Boulevard where, two people were street racing and hit somebody that was turning out. And, I don't know the exact details, but, you're going that fast to speed. People might not see each other. And, obviously, I'm sure that wasn't their intent, but we have to address those kind of public safety concerns. One of the one priorities of government is the safety of its citizens. So, and for us, that means our PD, fire department, and streets, frankly. So it is out of some problem, and this problem isn't alone a problem in Westminster. It certainly is across the metro area become a problem. So we're looking at ways to address that, and we'll continue to do that. And a lot of that is coming out of the PD saying, here's what would help us. Because they're the ones who are the boots on the ground who have to deal with it day to day. So we certainly want to keep doing that. I'm a car enthusiast, and I understand people like their cars and they like to go show them off in car shows and all that kind of stuff. And, that's fine as long as you're not getting yourself into a situation where you're breaking speed limits, especially to an extent where it's causing such danger to yourself and other people. So, but I agree that it's a fine balance. We want to make sure that we're, not making things unduly burden for people to, drive through the city.
I appreciate that. I guess my next question, talking about undue burdens, I noticed on Nextdoor this week about the Westminster Hills Dog Park and the draft recommendations that they're going to close almost all of it to dogs, and half of it will be completely closed to dogs. The other half will be on leash, and only a very small sliver will be off leash. As someone who spent the entire pandemic over there with Lincoln, my pup, I understand that it's been stressed with all the use, but at the same time, it's an amenity that seems like it's being taken away. And from where I sit, it seems like our open space is actively working against the residents. What's your thoughts on that?
I have not seen the draft recommendation yet, so I can't speak to it. I will tell you, at least and obviously there's 7 of us, and we all sometimes have 7 different views of things, and sometimes we and you always have to try to look for this shared value and shared ideas on things. So I am a big proponent of the dog park. I certainly know that we've had some trouble around parking over there, and we've tried to address that. There is also some concern about overuse as far as what it's doing to the landscape over there. So I haven't seen that, and I don't know. I'm an advocate of that dog park it's very popular, very used by our residents, and they are very passionate about being able to use it. So I certainly am going to bring that lens with anything that's brought before me as far as the dog park.
That's great. If I put my 2 cents in, if there's concern about use and funding for that, there might be an opportunity for parking fees, especially for out of city residents. Maybe Boulder County, City of Boulder open space mountain parks. All Boulder County residents can park for free, and outside of Boulder County, it's all registered to your license plate. So you pay either a per time fee or you can buy a yearly pass for like $25 or something. But that may be, if there's concerns about manpower to make sure that this plate that is kept open to people, that may be an option.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to pay extra fees any more than the next guy, but same time that, when you have 1 million visitors to one of our spaces in a year, and that's, and a large portion of them are from out of town, that might be an option. Just my 2 cents. So
no, I appreciate the feedback.
Sure. Let's see here. Jamie, are you seeing any questions or comments on social media to ask the counselor?
No, just some good mornings and hellos, no specific questions.
Oh, okay, great. Is there anything else that we should be looking for as we close out the year that we should really be watching outside of these concept plans? Is there anything? I know strategic plan will be coming up January or February, but outside of that, what should we be keeping our eyes open for?
I would say that's kind of is honestly the biggest thing. You have 3 new people who all just finished an election. Typically with election come a lot of strong opinions, sometimes promises, sometimes priorities. And I imagine that we're going to hear some of those as we go through that strategic planning. And so as the 7 of us advocate for what we think is most important, it certainly is important for the residents to be engaged and share their perspective, because ultimately that's who we are supposed to be looking out for. And so understanding that in terms of what you think is most important, or if you hear one of us trying to go down a certain path and you really don't think that's the right path, I for one certainly am interested in hearing that. That doesn't always mean we'll agree, but I think that there's some feedback that can be taken from almost any conversation that can at least make better policy. If it's not totally gone away, maybe it's more amenable to people. So because at the end of the day, in any situation, if there were 5 residents in the city, we still wouldn't find stuff that everybody agrees on all the time. So we got to work through that and figure out what's the best value for the city and the residents at large.
Great. Yeah. Thank you, Dave. Appreciate your time.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jamie.
Thank you both very much for being here today. Thank you, Dave, for your commitment to the city and for being here with us today. And thank you, Dave Carpenter, for joining us as well. And look forward to having you on again in the future.
All right. Thank you so much, guys. Have a good Christmas and Happy New Year.
Yeah.
You too. Thank you.
Merry Christmas. Bye.